everyone, Paul at ISM. Welcome to part 10 of our Model Fighter Hero 112 Lancia HF Delta Evo 92 video build. Now, this is another video of a calamity again. So, hopefully this will be the last one. We've had the 488, which has ended up in a whole tale of woe. And a few other builds go wrong. And this roll cage on this car has driven me around the bend. And it's caused a near 2-month delay in the build. So I've talked about it before I've been live. If you haven't heard about it, you'll see it in the video in a minute. What's been going on and what an idiot I am. So let's get straight in with the build, and we're going to get the roll cage built up eventually, primed, painted, get some of the interior parts in. We started working on 7 weeks ago, and just get this in, and then next time we come back we can try and concentrate on some of the other areas of the interior. A few more interesting bits. We've got the seats to do, the dashboard, the door cards, so we've got some carboning to do, flocking to do on the seats, some seat belts to build, and it'll really bring our interior together. So kind of one of those videos is another matter of course, but also a tale of how things go wrong, because I do show the things that go wrong in the videos and how I fix them, and basically how I should put the roll cage together in the first place. So let's go straight in after these quick words. Hey everyone, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell notifications, get notified of our latest videos, give the video a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and leave a comment. I do read and appreciate every comment you guys and girls leave behind. I may not reply to them all, but they are all appreciated. And there's a link in the description of the video that takes you to a big long list of all handy videos and a lot of the products I use in my videos. You now have the chance to support the video content creation by using Patreon or the PayPal me link in the description down below. All the videos will always remain free to watch. This is just your chance to help support the videos. Right then, let's start this tale of woe and despair. So this is the roll cage for the Lancia. It's been in the tumbler. We've cleaned it all up that way, and now we're just de-seaming it all using a combination of the Tamiya files to get rid of any seams that are there, and then we'll use some UMP sanders to clean it up at the end. So the tumbler's got rid of a lot of the pitting and the marks and any of the grubbiness off it. They do save time, but you still need to hit everything up with a file and a sander. So I found the file first to get rid of the worst bits, and then the sander to clean up the excess. Now, this isn't going to go well. This is going to be, like I say, a tale of woe and despair, but we do get there in the end. But it certainly doesn't work out the way we planned. So originally, when I got the roll cage, when I got the kit, I planned to use super glue to stick this together because I wasn't confident of soldering it. And I thought, you know what, super glue would be nice and easy. We use the car as a template, and we'll get all the parts together, glue them as we go, and it'll be dead easy, no problem at all. So here I am deepening the locator points. Each part of the white metal has a female and a male joint to it. So I'm just drilling out the female joints to make sure the male's fitting properly, which they do. And then we're going to offer everything up, see how it fits together, double check we've got the right parts, and then glue it together with some CA glue. Sounds really simple, and in my head it should have been a nice easy job. So there we go. So with everything lined up, a little bit of CA glue on the male piece, and then offer it up to the female piece, pop it in place, hold it, let it be. It's a nice thick CA glue, so it will grab everything really well. And then my plan was to go around it afterwards and infill any gaps, and we'll sand it later on. So that's the back piece on as well. And as you can see, it's got a bit of purchase on it. It's not too bad at all. So just offering it up in place. We glued the back piece now ready. So we're going to pop that in its locating points at the bottom, the top, and the back. And then the idea was to hold that all together. We've done it for the other side as well, and get all the other bits together. But as you can see, everything starts falling apart, and we're back to square one again. So yeah, a little bit of a calamity this. It starts to really test my patience, to the point of it's just impossible to hold. I think there's about 8 parts to this roll cage with 2 pairs, 1 pair of hands. 2 pairs, it'd be interesting, wouldn't it? So I opted for soldering instead. So I bought a soldering iron. This is the next day now. We've got some solder, and I thought, you know what, I'm not too bad at soldering. I'm more better at brazing because I was a plumber for nearly 20 years. I'm okay at soldering now, but what a big mistake I've made is I've got too high temperature iron and not low enough temperature melting point solder. So as you can see, it struggles to get the heat into the white metal, the pewter, wherever it is. So it doesn't quite get hot enough to let the solder melt and capillary reaction itself into there. I do have flux on the solder as well, but just couldn't get enough heat into everything without melting the white metal. So wasn't working great, and I was like, oh God, what's going on here? And I thought, okay, then plan C. Soldering's not going to work. We'll take everything off and start afresh. So, like I say, the main mistake I've made here is going for too high heat of a soldering iron and too high melting point solder. I believe I need low melting point solder and a much cooler iron. So it wasn't really working at all. The solder just wasn't melting, wasn't capillary flowing, and it just wasn't sticking the parts together. So I thought, right, I'll take it off. We'll get all the old solder off, and we'll start again. So looking at it now, I'm thinking, yeah, there we go, melt that bit of solder off. Then this bit, and I was thinking, this solder's melting, taking a long time to come off. And I realised I was actually melting the roll cage itself. And I ended up losing about 1 centimetre on one side, so the roll cage was now short. So I'm like, uh-oh, yeah, okay, I've screwed up big time. So, fast forward here, 6 weeks later, I had to get replacement parts from the factory Hiro. The place I bought the kit from in France took forever getting back to me and responding. So I went to Manufacturer Direct, had the parts in a week, so fantastic service from them. Lo and behold, a couple of weeks later, spare parts arrived from the shop I bought the kit from, although they were the wrong parts. But that works out well in the end. So this time around, I thought, right, we'll get some JB Weld, which is metal reinforced epoxy resin. And I thought we'll do exactly the same. We're going to do the say glue, hold it all together, tape it, let it dry. You know, jobs are good, and we'll do it this way. I thought this stuff will dry nice and hard. Sadly, this stuff doesn't dry quite quick enough, and the calamity that ensued, as you've just seen there, carried on throughout this fruitless, what's the word I'm looking for, challenge, where trying to get everything lined up and held in place, whilst getting the other side lined up and in place, and then get all the cross members on. It just wasn't working. It was just creating more of a mess and more of a problem. So getting more and more frustrated here, because this is probably about 7 weeks in between those two sections of videos. I've been waiting for these parts and eager to get on with the build and waiting, and the whole time this JB Weld has been my solution in my head, and it's just not working. So as you can see, trying to hold it with a bit of a bottle while holding it to dry, and then we can leave that piece and move on to another, and it's just having none of it. It's like trying to pat your tummy, rub your head, or the other way around. Rub your tummy, pat your head. It's just trying to do so many things at once with one pair of hands. It just wasn't working at all. And as you'll see in the end, when I finally got it to start going off, the whole thing fell to bits on me, and I was like, right, that's not going to work either. So yeah, I thought, right then, we're going to have to rethink this one. So yes, a little bit of a calamity. Like I say, this has been a bit of a long drawn out nightmare with this bloody roll cage. Now, I did also try brazing it with my torch, gas powered torch. But again, I didn't have the low enough temperature solder. Tested it on a spare piece, and it just wasn't melting it. And to get low temperature solder, it's expensive. It's really expensive, and you've got to buy it in large quantities. So kind of made it a no-go, really. So here we go. We start getting some bits to stick together now. We've got this side on. It's starting to set the epoxy. We're just doing the same to the other side, and this stuff started to get everywhere. It was all over me. Started to get it on the floor panel of the car. It was all over the bench. It was on my arms. It was just bloody everywhere. Like I say, getting more and more and more frustrated, and just as I started to get it all to go together, it fell apart on me. And I was like, do you know what? That's it. this isn't going to work. I'm done with the epoxy resin. So you'll see it any second now. I think it's going to fall to bits on me any second. Just to try and get all these parts in separately at all different angles. Just really difficult to do. And there it goes. It's going. It's going. There we go. Right, that's it. Sod it. I'm done. Yeah, I've had enough. That's not going to work. So I took all the parts off. We cleaned them all up. All the JB Weld came off. No problem at all. And I thought, right then, plan D, I think this is. So I cut off the locator points. I've drilled into the female parts to make them bigger. We've got some thick brass rod. And we're going to put some of the brass rod in one end. Like so. We'll CA glue that in place. We'll then drill the other end. Have to cut the locator point off. So we can insert this in the other side, CA glue together, and as you'll see, within a minute or so, it was together. One side flew together, and I thought, why did I not just do this in the first place? So there we go, some nice brass rod in there. Give it a snip off with my wonderful metal snips that Andy Callis sent me years ago. I love these things. A little bit of a test fit. Front and back, look at that. Holds itself in there perfectly. That's not even glued yet, and it holds itself in there. Absolutely fantastic. So, yes, this is what we should have done from the beginning. It's a little bit rustic and a little bit hit and miss, but it works. More importantly, it works. So what we'll need to do when we get it all glued together and we've test fitted to make sure it all fits with the body on, is we can go around and CA glue all the joints, and then we're going to have to let all that set and sand them all nice and flush. So like I say, we're drilling out a female hole each side of the part, popping in the brass rod with some CA glue on. As you can see, pushing it home, it's a nice tight fit into the hole. Snipping it short just so it fits in the other part perfectly. And then just a quick test fit. Drill it out if needed be. So a lot of people comment about me showing things that go wrong. I think it's important too. I could have completely glossed over all this and said, yeah, there we go. This is how I decided to do it from the beginning. Job done. But that's kind of cheating in a way, isn't it? Because I'm showing my experience of what goes wrong, how to try and fix it, different ways of doing it. If you're building these kits, this is a tricky part to do. I mean, I think low temperature soldering is the way to go. And I know Jamie, who built the other Lancia I've shown before on my videos, he soldered his, but he brazed it with a flame, probably some low temperature solder, and that would be the way to go. But I didn't have the solder. I didn't want to risk melting the roll cage again, having to wait another God knows how long for spare parts. So I've gone for this way. And while it's a bit of a rustic kind of way of doing it, as you can see, it bloody works well. It works really well. And it did give quite a bit of strength to the cage, even when it wasn't glued. Just friction fitted in place. The parts fitted in really well. And there you go. There's one side done. There we go. Should have just done that in the first place. It would have been a lot easier. So I'll do that for all the other joints as well. Everything's been pinned. And I'm just test fitting it all in place, getting it all lined up and straight. And it looks good. So, yes, happy days. There we go. So, we're going to go over the CA glue now. I'm just going to go over every joint. This one's just popped out. It just needs a little bit more CA glue in it. And I'm just going to put a bead of CA glue over every joint, and then we'll sand this back later. And it'll fill in all the joints as good as possible. This isn't going to be perfect. I know for a fact. Sorry about the compressor. I know for a fact it's not going to be perfect. But we make the best out of a bad situation that we can. That's the only thing we can do. Like I was saying, hopefully me showing my mistakes will help people in future. So we've got it all in there. We've test fitted it. I've had the body on to make sure it fits, and it does. It'll need a little bit of tweaking, which we need to do at the end. But for now, I'm happy that that's fitted in. And just a bit of pinning with some brass rod and CA glue has sorted the problem. I'm hitting this with kicker just to get it to dry quicker. That way I can take it out and wipe it off any excess where we don't need it. Good CA glue this. You can get this in my Amazon store. It's cheap, it's nice and thick, and it dries absolutely rock solid. Really, really good. And then there we go. There's all the pieces in place. There's the body shell going over, which is now 2K'd as well. It's looking good. And it's not quite a perfect fit. This roll cage is a tight fit. Now, at this stage, I don't know if I show it, but when you pick it up, you'll notice that left-hand side at the front, it's a little bit low because when I was soldering, I damaged all the parts and it was a little bit shorter than it should have been. It was about 5mm shorter. And I was worried all along, would it make any difference? And it does a little bit, it's just a little bit short. Now, the other spare parts haven't turned up yet, but when they do, they're going to send me that piece. So here we are, fast forward another couple of weeks. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out this section that was cut short. Well, it was melted short. And then get the new piece. And we're going to piece it right in the middle there. Cut the bottom, cut the top, do exactly what we did before. Drill either side, and we're going to pin it and extend it. Nice and simple. And that way we'll get a proper, equally sized roll cage. Like I said, a little bit rustic how it's been done, but it'll work well. And like I say, it makes the best of a bad situation. And like I say, I openly admit at the end, it's not going to be perfect. It took me hours of sanding and fettling to get it how it was. I'm happy how it looks. So you're just going to have to accept any flaws you can see at the end. But I think it turned out not too bad. So like I said, we're going to drill out each end, add the brass rod again. We're going to pop that section in, test fit it, make sure it's all right, and then fully glue it in place. And then we'll fill in sand where we go. And at least that way, it was just pure luck. We got this extra part. I've measured this now, put it next to the part, cut it a tad longer. We'll sand it, file it smooth, and then drill the ends and add the brass rod. And that way it just extends it by that little bit of 5mm, which makes a world of difference, and straightens the roll up perfect. So there we go. I've just got it roughly placed in the chassis. So we get it all lined up where we think it should go. Like that. And then we grab the part we're going to extend and add in there. So I've already got the brass rod in the bottom, so we can pop that in and lift it up and just let the friction hold that. A little dab of Selector on the bottom because we know that piece is going to stay in there, no bother. Just pop in our little bit of brass rod with Selector, cut it to the right length. And there we go, pop that in place. And then the body on, make sure you got no Selector on your fingers at all. What we're going to make sure is it looks equal, which it does. It's not too high.
Sorry, I'm not sure about that.
There's my Amazon Alexa piping up for no reason whatsoever, as they do. As you can see, it's fitted in great. We just need to straighten it up, pin it, and away we go. I'm just making sure it's all equidistant everywhere. And there we go. Once we're happy, I put the pin in the top. I had to take it back out. There was a little bit of a bird. It wasn't quite sat straight, so I took it back out. Luckily, the glue hadn't dried just yet. And then we pop it in place. Push it all fully home and let that set. And then as before, we can fill in any gaps with CA glue and sand later. So there we go. Yeah, 8 weeks of pain. I think it's about 8 weeks since I destroyed this. And we've finally got it assembled and together. So like I say, now we just go around and fill all the gaps. So basically it's like welding with CA glue. There we go. Like I said, big fan of the CA glue, and these nozzles are fantastic, especially with jobs like this. They work really well, very precise. You can get the precise amount of CA glue right where you need it. And here we are. So about a week later, we're going to sand everything. So we've got a combination of UMP sanders, files, sponges, a lot. And we're going to go around and we're going to sand all the CA glue as smooth as possible. We do need to refill a couple of places just to get it as smooth as possible. Like I say, it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to make the best of a bad situation. It's not as how I plan to do it, and I'll definitely be on the lookout for some low temperature solder. And the next one we do, we'll probably have a go at brazing, I think. Like I say, we're using some thinny sticks from UMP, some thinny sponges. I'm just going to go around until we've got those seams as smooth as possible. It took hours doing this. It's probably a good hour and a half, 2 hours of sanding to try and get this to look semi-decent. And like I say, some tight corners here where the sanders won't get in. I'm just going to use my Tamiya file. There's also a pin sticking through there where we pinned the top bar. So I'm going to file that smooth as well. And then we can sand it and fill it. And here we are in the spray booth. Now, wouldn't normally airbrush this, but number one, I hadn't decanted any of the acid etch primer. And I thought, you know what, it's a big part. Let's just spray can it. So straight out the spray can. I've got to hold the top piece there, do it all, put it on the table, and then spray the bits that I miss. So yeah, like I say, this is not perfect. It does not look fantastic if you look close, because you can see some of the CA glue where I've not quite sanded it off or quite flush. But those areas will be hidden. They'll be hidden in the roofline of the car, so I'm not really all that bothered. And there we go. Just popped it down some tissue, and I'm just spraying where my fingers were. But overall, considering it was pinned and CA glued, it doesn't look too bad. I'm just glad it's straight, it fits in, and it's glued together, because I was really starting to stress with this. And this U-Pol acid etch primer is fantastic stuff as well to both spray can and airbrush. Now we've got our TS17 TS100 mix we used on the chassis through our Apex 0.2mm needle, and we're going to put down several coats of this. They're quite tricky to spray roll cages because your overspray misses most of the part. So you're going to take plenty of passes, getting all the inside, outside angles, upside down, the lot. But this will match the colour of the chassis interior then, which is what the real car has from reference pictures we've seen. So a couple of light passes, we're about 16 psi, it's the 0.2mm Apex, and yeah, it goes down great. The test paints are brilliant, they really do lay down well. Like I say, the roll cage isn't perfect, I'll openly admit it, but areas where you can see that are important, they look okay. And I'll be honest, I'm more than happy to get to this stage now, and it look how it does than how it did beforehand. So yes, just spraying there where my fingers were as well. Probably gave it 3 light coats all around. Like I said, they are tricky to spray. You do waste a lot of your paint because it just blows through the roll cage. But it's a necessary thing to do. As long as you get nice even coverage, I'm happy, and that's what we're aiming for. So at last, it's painted. Thank God for that. With that and the 2K out the way on the body, there are 2 milestones I'm very happy to get done. Now, the interior parts, we started to work on these before the roll cage, so we've gone back in time before the roll cage now. And I wanted to get all the interior bits in like this before I commit to gluing the roll cage in, so that's what's held me up with the build. Still got all the seats to do, all the dashboard, the door cards and what have you. So again, these bits have all been in the tumbler. They were all done as one go at the beginning. And we're just going to clean them all up, get rid of any seams, anything that needs doing. We use a combination of Tamiya files, UMP sponge sanders, UMP thinny sticks, just to make sure they're all de-seamed and de-burred. And yeah, it's a bit of a laborious, boring task, but important to do to get the best finish possible on the parts. So quite a lot of them, quite a lot of seam wear to do. White metal is very dirty to work with, even though this has been cleaned. As you're filing it, you'll end up with black dust everywhere, and it just gets all over the sanders. But it's just part and parcel of building a model factory Hero kit. There's no way around this. You need to clean the parts up. And obviously it is white metal, so be very careful. It is easy to sand, it's easy to deform and misshape if you're not careful. So really take your time and concentrate on what you're doing, basically. So some of the extinguishers for the back. Now, these have already been test fitted for the fittings, drilled, test fitted again, so I know once we're done, everything is going to fit in there great. So all de-seamed and sorted, degreased the lot, same process we've used all around. They're mounted on cocktail sticks. We've got our 0.35 Apex this time for the acid etch primer. And this primer, it's just a joy to spray. It covers unbelievably quick. It's a very satisfying paint to spray. It's quite hard to describe, but because it's quite a thick paint, it just lays down beautiful. It's completely unthinned out of the spray can. It's just been decanted, left to off gas, and it is very, very volatile out the can. So be very careful. What's the word I'm looking for? Decanting it, that's the word. So yeah, but it's a beautiful primer to spray. Very, very satisfying. It just covers. You can see how quick that's covering there. Yeah, covers really well. Very satisfying. Sounds a bit sad to say, but I do enjoy my painting. I really, really do. And there we go. Once they're all primed, we'll put these to one side to dry overnight. And then we're probably going to come back in and prime them with Mr. Surfacer Black, because these are going to go a multitude of metallic colours. This will be like a composite colour. But we'll figure all that later. But as I said, I'm doing the same process throughout. Every white metal piece is going to get acid etch primed, and then it's proper layer of primer. And that way we know it's all done properly. No paint's going to fall off, and we shouldn't have any issues at all. So there we go. Next day, Mr. Surfacer 1500 Black, 0.35 apex, 16 psi again, and just a couple of light coats. Again, over the acid etch primer, covers really quick, no bother whatsoever. So this is Mr. Surfacer 1500 Black. It's thinned about 70% Mr. Hobby leveling thinner. We've got a 0.35 apex, 16 psi, like I say. And really, probably get away with 2 light coats on this. You probably get away with 1, to be honest. It covers so well over the acid etch that it's no drama at all. But we'll do 2 light coats, and that way we make sure we get even, continuous coverage all around. So nice to be finally back working on this. I have missed working on it, but I wanted to make sure I was building the process and procedure I wanted to, because I had so much of this footage knocking about that I didn't lose the footage. I've held on to this on SD cards. I thought I'd lost a load of footage the other day, and I found it. So, you know, I've got to think about the footage as well to make sure I keep it. On the extinguishers, we're going to paint these in chrome. So these are getting primed. I say primed, the loosest sense of the word, with Mr. GX2 Gloss Black. So a couple of light coats and then a nice wet coat at the end. And that gives a really nice gloss black finish, as you can see. And then leave that to dry for a good 12 hours. Next day, we've got some Mr. Hobby Super Metallic Chrome. 0.2mm apex, 16 psi. This is thinned about 50-60% with the Mr. Hobby Rapid Thinner. I'm going to put a couple of light coats down and just look at that. The chrome is beautiful. Do like this Mr. Hobby metallic chrome. It's very, very good. The super metallics are fantastic. Super finely pigmented. They spray wonderful. The rapid thinner definitely makes a difference. So if you're using metallics, any other lacquers, I would recommend using the rapid thinner. The theory is the paint dries quicker, so the metallic particles stay on the surface rather than sinking down beneath the layer. Whether that's true, I don't know. But I can vouch it definitely seems to work better than thinning with Mr. Hobby Leveling Thinner or Mr. Hobby Thinner or Tamiya Lacquer Thinner. Any of the standard lacquer thinners, the rapid stuff does give a nice coat because that chrome looks sharp. It looks really, really good. There we go. Like I say, even just after 1 coat, the coverage is fantastic. We've got some Mr. Hobby Superfine Silver now. And we're going to paint all the other bits. So this is a gear lever linkage, gear selector linkage. Then we've got the gear shift itself. It's going to be painted in a multitude of colours. Again, the coverage of these paints, absolutely wonderful. They are by far one of my favourite metallic paints. They've just expanded the range. They've added copper, a new gold, and duraluminum into the range. I have to say that the American way, because it's how it's spelt. So there's only 9 in the range, but the colours are just fantastic. So we'll let that dry another 12, 24 hours again. Probably longer, actually. It's probably left for quite a while. We're going to mask up and paint the mounting brackets on the front extinguisher. So using some Tamiya thin tapes, just going to mask it up around the edges as close as we can, and then we're coming in and infill with the tapes later on. We're just going to mask up the gear stick as well. Now, I edited this and I couldn't quite figure out what I was spraying and why I was doing it. So you're going to have to bear with me because I'm going to have to work this out as we watch it being sprayed in a minute. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing to the gear lever. I've got the handbrake, which you're going to mask off the metalwork and paint the actual lever handle black. So here we go. We're on the gear shifter. Now that looks to be... I'm going to take a guess that that is LP5 semi-gloss black. Like I say, because this was so long ago, I've completely forgotten. Although, that is Mr. Surfacer there, is it? No, it's not. That's my GX2. Okay. So I think we've done Mr. Hobby semi-gloss black. Sorry, we've done Tamiya semi-gloss black at the bottom. And then gloss black on the knob itself. And then on the bracket, I'm going to guess it is, that's LP61 metallic grey. This is the problem with dealing with footage from so long back, is that I'm forgetting what I actually did at the time, because these were sprayed about 7 weeks ago. So it's hard to remember the colours, and obviously my paint booth looks like a bomb's gone off. So yes. So let's have a look. Right, I'm going to guess that the bottom of that gear selector was sprayed in Tamiya LP65 rubber black, is what my guess would be, and the knob's been done in LP5. I know this bracket, the attached brackets on this extinguisher have been done in LP61 metallic grey, because it's one of my go-to colours, so I know that one. You can see the wheels in the background, which we did previously in another video. We've got some decals to go on. These look very smart when these are done. They look really nice. They're going to add a nice bit of detail to the interior. We also need to pipe them up as well. So we're going to add some pipe into the interior. And there's a P bracket to go on these, which very cleverly attaches a little bit later on. It looks great. But the chrome has come out absolutely wonderful on these. I am very, very impressed. And the Muller factory decals, they're very, very good. It was one part of the kit I was dubious of, but they actually turned out to be fantastic. They laid down well. They reacted to minimal decal solutions, just normal, set them in place for most of the part on these bits. And they just went down great. Right, we've got the PE handbrakes around now. So we cut this off the fret. And we are deburring it with our diamond file for photo etch. We've got Tamiya bending pliers. Put it right up to the edge of the bending seam. And we're going to bend it in. We're not going to go fully 90 degrees just yet, because we've got to put the part inside just yet. But we're going to put the bends in place. Like so. There we go. And we're going to test our handbrake lever and see how it goes. So there's two little holes in either side with that slot, and then there's a raised dog leg which holds a spring. Now the spring also attaches here, so I'm drilling through the handbrake lever, and we have a flat rivet to place in there that hangs over the edge, which the spring attaches to. Now that sounds nice and easy, but in the 7 weeks of filming this, I've gone and lost the spring. No idea where it's gone. Looked everywhere today. Couldn't find it anywhere. No idea what has happened to it at all. So we're going to make our own spring. And I'll show you in a minute how we did it. And whether that was easier or better, I don't know. But it's going to push this flat rivet through so it's flush on the outer edge. And it just leaves enough sticking out the side that we can attach our spring to in a bit. So there we go. There's the rivet in place. You see a little tiny rivet at the top. It just overhangs. There we go. We're now going to glue this into that photo etch bracket we cut off and shaped before. So a little dab of Bob Smith's glue. This is why we didn't quite bend this fully 90 degrees on each side. Leave it open and then close it. Clamp it, get the two holes on either side, hold it for a few seconds and let the glue get purchased on there. And then on the back we have a fitment to go on. Like so. We drilled these out ready as well. So they're popped in place. Any excess glue is just quickly wiped off the PE. If you get any glue on the PE, you can get it off of acetone or nail varnish remover. Like I say, we lost our spring, so I grabbed a small piece of brass rod. We've got some nickel wire. I'm just going to wrap it round. Not really tightly, but close enough. Until we get a spring-looking wire device long enough. So I'm just looking at that thinking, yeah, that looks all right. Let's do a little bit more. And we're going to push it together. And voila, there's our spring. So we grab the handbrake, offer it up. It's way too long, but that's good because it means we can cut it and get it to fit in place. So we have to unwind a couple of turns. Test it again. Like I say, test fitting is paramount with these kits. These are not Tamiya kits. These do not fall together. Nothing fits to start with. You have to make every part fit, which is part of the fun of building these. And as I said before, I don't think these kits are honestly worth the money. Because this thing cost me nearly £650, £700. I don't think for what you get in the box, they're actually worth what you pay for. What they are worth the money for is the enjoyment and the satisfaction you get from building the kit. Because you are taking raw materials and shaping them and modifying them to fit. And that is what makes them worth their money. And that is the point I'll always say about these kits. I don't think what you actually get in the box is worth that money. It's a lot of money. But the joy and the satisfaction of building these things is where they come into their own. And it's a different thing to the alpha models. I think they are worth the money for what you get in the box because it's a lot of precision resin, photo etch and what have you. These, everything needs work. All the resin needs work, all the white metal, everything needs work. Nothing fits in together straight away. So the alpha models are a different ball game. And obviously plastic kits from vary in price. You know, there's Tamiya 12 scale kits that cost nearly as much as these, not quite, but they will go together a lot easier. So price is subjective on value. I've been having this discussion with a few people lately over are these kits actually worth it, and I'm going to stand by what I've just said and just say that I think for the time and enjoyment you get from building them, I think they are worth it. Anyway, I've waffled on. We've bent over the ends, we've cut it to length, folded over the ends to attach it on each one, and there we go. A homemade spring, which I think looks really good. Gear lever placing on its mount here now as well. So we popped it through. We've applied a little bit of CA glue on here. Now, thankfully, I didn't apply it to the actual lever because I've actually got this back to front, and I don't realise till I test fit it in a minute. I just have to quickly spin it round 180 degrees, and it's a good one. So there we go. I've realised my mistake and spun it round. A quick test fit, and again, all these parts were test fitted before paint. Every single part I've test fitted several times, so I know when it's painted and we come back, it's all going to fit in. So a couple of dabs of glue in place. It'd be quick with the Bob Smiths, you can wipe her off with no damage. So there we go, there's the gear selector in, and there's our handbrake in place as well. Just a quick test fit again, make sure it fits in, which it does. And then our extinguishers. So we've got some fittings to go in the end of each one. Make sure you get them the right way round. Like I say, these are all going to need hosing up, wiring up, because it will be wire we use, but it is simulating a hose. Like so. There we go. They really look the part. They're absolutely beautiful. It's going to look really cool, this, once it's all done. I do like these extinguishers. The chrome has turned out phenomenal. Really, really well. They look really good. And then one of the ones on the back has a raised mount. So there's a little bit of white metal. So put a couple of dabs of glue on here. Now luckily I didn't glue this in place straight away. I do glue them in place, as you'll see, when I put way too much glue on this part now. And then realise, oh, there's some brackets to put on. So we cut the PE off. I've got a UMP sponge sander and a brush. And all you got to do is roll it over, and it curves the ends really nice and easily. Quick test fit, open it up just a touch. Slide it over without scratching your decal or your paint. Line it in place, and because the inside's hollow, all you've got to do is push the edges down on each side. No glue required. And there we go. Look at that. Simple and easy. One's glued in place, the other one's glued in place with our brackets. Don't they look good? They look great in the chrome. The chrome is beautiful. I'm very impressed with that Mr. Hobby Super Metallic Chrome. Decals look good. Just get that one straight. There we go. They look great. And then with the roll cage on, we're going to do a tiny test fit with the body. It does need a little bit of fettling. We do need to just move a few pieces, A, over to the right, and B, just push it down a bit. But there we go. That's it in place. Interior's coming together. So they've got all our seats to put in. Just got to wire and pipe everything up. But it's looking good. We're getting somewhere at last, which is great. And with a little bit of fettling of the roll cage, it's sitting okay. The body's going to be drilled down, screwed in place. So there's the body on the roll cage, all fits in there well, no problem at all. And there we go. That is hopefully the end of the calamity of the roll cage. So there we go. We finally got it all in place. It doesn't look the prettiest, I'll admit that, but it's together, it's painted, and what you can see from the exterior of the car, which is what I'm most bothered about, it looks fine. So I'm happy with that. We've got some detailed parts of the interior. They all need hosing up, wiring up. Like I say, in the next video, we'll start doing the seats. They need carbon backing, flocking on the front. We've got some seat belts to build up. We've got all the dashboard to do, which I'm actually quite looking forward to do. The dash is going to be interesting. We've got the door cards to do. You've got some fabric material on them and a load of other bits to do. And hopefully we can start really getting this thing together. We're getting through the build now. We've got all the awkward bits done, or a lot of the awkward bits done. And hopefully now we can start progressing towards the end of it. So there we go. So the question for today is, we're on part 10 already. I can't think of how many more parts this is going to be offhand. I'm going to guess it's going to be another 6 to 10, I think. And 6 is being very conservative. I think it's going to be another 6 to 10. How many more parts do you think are going to be to this series? If I'm going into the detail I'm going into now, and I said I want to try and cover it all, how many more parts is it going to be? Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Let me know if you still enjoy the build. Do you want to see more? As I said in every video lately, my long-term goal now is to have a Modified Hero kit on the go, an Alpha Models kit, and a plastic kit on the go, and that way I cater not only to me and keep me interested in what I'm doing, but you guys watching out there as well. Because not everyone can afford one of these Modified Hero kits or wants to build one of them. Same with the Alpha Model kits, and the plastic kits is what most of us build anyway. So that way I keep all three kind of, not genres, but types of car modelling done, and keep the interest from me and yourselves together, hopefully. So that's a long-term goal. But anyway, we're done. We've got the 2K out of the way now, which is a job I was dreading doing, and the roll cage is finally built after a 7-8 week farce, basically. Absolutely crazy. But it's done now, and that's the important thing. So we can crack on and push on with the build. So I've still got the RS6 is ongoing as well, which you've seen. Waiting on some parts to start that Porsche GT2 from Tamiya, and that's the next build that's going to be on the go. And I've got loads of build plans for the future. So stay tuned on the channel. And as always, if you want to support the videos, keep the content rolling out there, keep the live streams going. There's a Patreon link, Patreon link down below where you become a patron, pick your selected tier, and help support and keep the channel and the videos going. If you go tier 2 or higher, you get two-week early access on all the videos. You get a chance to vote on things, suggestions, and what have you. And you get an exclusive live stream the first Wednesday morning of every month. It's recorded, you can watch it back. And that is only for my supporters, that live stream. So you can go on there. And we're going to have a giveaway on the 7th of October. I'm going to give away a Paul ISM apron and mug. That's a mug, by the way. So, yeah, you can win one of those. So you can do that. There's also PayPal me and a Buy Me Coffee link if you want to make one-off donations. And there's links below to everything ISM, UMP, and me related, from the Facebook page, the forum, group builds, Off Air Hangouts, a Friday night live show, umpretail.com. You got my Paul SM modelling page. You got Stone and Machine, my other group over there for anything automotive based modelling and full size. You got an email address to get in touch with me, my Scale Mates link, and my affiliate store link at Amazon. We can find a lot of products I use in my videos, and if they're not on there, they're in the products I use list over on the forum, which is all linked down below. So you can go click on that. As always, make sure you're sub to the channel, give the video a thumbs up or thumbs down, click that bell notification so you get notified of the latest videos. Please leave a comment. I love reading all your feedback. What are you thinking of the build so far? And let me know the answer to that question. How many parts do you think this series is going to be in total? Let me know. I think it's going to be between 16 and 20, roughly. I think it's going to be nearer the 20, but what do you think? How many parts do you think it's going to be? There we are. Thanks for watching. I will catch you all next time. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Take care. Bye-bye.